This is the Unit 3 after test homework for Algebra 2. Remember, we're doing only the A's. So 1 is 2x squared y to the negative 1 all raised to the negative 2 over 4x to the negative 1 y all that squared. There's a couple different ways to do this. The best way I found is to go ahead and deal with all the powers. Now, you're not really distributing, even though it looks like it, so we're going to multiply all the powers here. So you got 2 to the negative 2, x to the negative 4, remember I'm multiplying here, and y to the positive 2, all over 4 to the 2, x to the negative 2, y to the positive 2. Okay. At any point you could start reducing and crossing stuff out. I'm going to wait till the end. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to bring all my negative powers down. So that's going to come down. So I'm looking at, I'm going to draw my parentheses in there. I'm going to say 2 to the 2 times 4 to the 2. This x comes up. This x comes down, x to the 4th. And these and the y's stay where they're at. Okay. So we're looking at, that's a 4, that's a 16, right? Okay, so we're looking at 16 times 4, right? For 64. X to the 4th y squared. Now I can reduce. I can reduce the y squareds. I can also take out 2 x's, so it's kind of hard to see. This can get a little bit messy. So top and left with 1 over 64x squared. Number 2 is x times 3x plus 2 squared. Okay. I cannot distribute this x in here. I got to write this for what it really is. And I have to distribute this stuff in or FOIL it. So I'm looking at x equals 9x squared plus 6x plus 6x plus 4. And then x times 9x squared plus 12x plus 4. And now I will distribute my x in. I'm looking at 9x to the 3rd plus 12x plus 4x. Number 3 says x minus 4 x squared plus 6. They want the product, so I'm going to multiply it out just like I did up here. And I'm looking at x to the 3rd plus 6x minus 4x squared minus 24. So combine like terms, and there are none, but I do want to write this in what you call a descending order of powers. Okay, and there's my answer right there. Number 4 is negative 5x to the negative 3, a very common question. This is not a negative power, this is just a negative number. So the only thing that's going to go down in the bottom is the x to the 3rd. Number 5. It says factor completely which one is a factor. So you're basically at 16x squared minus 16. Okay.
Toa Scanlon, please report to your ride. Toa Scanlon, please report to your ride. They are waiting for you.
Excuse the announcement. You have to take a GCF out first. People will just say, hey, perfect square, and they factor it. GCF first. Right, then I have a difference of squares. So you can see my answer is going to be B for that. Okay. Number 6 Now we're getting to some more factoring. And number 6 says 3x squared minus 12. Same thing here, GCF first. Right, I took a 3 out of both terms. Now I realize I have a difference of squares. There's my answer. Number 7 is 14x squared, 14x, sorry, plus 35 plus 2xy plus 5y. So the first thing I want to do is, with all factoring, is take out a GCF, and I try and I don't have one, okay? So then I count the number of terms, and there's 4 terms, so that tells me I got to do factoring by grouping. I look for a GCF in the first term, it's going to be a 7. I look for a GCF in the second term, that's going to be a y. Okay. And so I look and see, okay, now I have another GCF, which is the whole quantity, 2x plus 5 and 2x plus 5. So that gets factored out. All right. Think of me undistributing that. And it leaves me with y plus 7. Okay. Number 8 is this, same type of question. Okay. So I'm looking at cx squared plus dx minus 9c minus 9d. Okay, so try to take a GCF out, and there isn't one. But here's the one thing you got to watch. Whenever you have this middle term as a minus, you want to go ahead and add the opposite. That's not distribution. Add the opposite. It's going to make the grouping a little easier with that negative sign. So my GCF here is just an x. It looks like. Oh, sorry, I wrote the question wrong. There should be an x squared there. So it's actually x squared, c plus d. Over here I have a GCF of 9, but they won't match, because you see this is a plus. So what I want to do is take out a negative 9. Right. And then I go ahead and factor out my c plus d, and leaves me with x squared minus 9. And once again I have another difference of squares, so I got to factor one more time. And there you go. Number 9. Number 9 says 3x to the third minus 8y to the third. Okay. So I try to take a GCF out. There's not. I see that there's 2 terms. So we got 2 options. Either it's a difference of squares, or it's a sum or difference of cubes. And these are all perfect cubes. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up. I'm going to say my a term is x. That's the cube root of that. And b is 2y. Don't worry about the sign. That's the cube root of the second term. And this is what we said we're SOAP for. Remember, that was our little acronym for same, opposite, always, positive. So the formula tells us it's a minus b, then a squared, a times b, and then b squared. So to clean that up a little bit, it's going to be x minus 2y, and that's x squared plus 2xy, putting those in alphabetical order, plus 4y squared. Don't forget to square the 2. And number 10 is looking at x plus 5 squared minus y squared. Okay. This is an example of a substitution, right? So we're going to say a minus y squared. That's a minus y. A plus y, because that's a difference of squares. Okay. But now you got to remember, I made that term in a, so I got to go back and plug it back in. So I'm going to say this. I got to go back and resubstitute back in. And there's my answer right there. Number 11, we'll make this the last one for this video. And this says x minus 1 squared plus 5 minus x times, or 5 times the quantity x minus 1 minus 24. And that will be my a sub right there again. So I'm going to say a squared plus 5a minus 24. I'm going to factor this like a trinomial. What multiplies to that adds to that. And what do we've got? 8 and 3, with the 8 being positive and the 3 being negative. Okay. Well, once again, I subbed in for a, so I have to go back and put back in what I had for a. So I'm going to say x minus 1 plus 8, and then x minus 1 minus 3. So after I combine my like terms, that's what I get right there.